will not see Dak Prescott, the Cowboys quarterback, making his return from an ankle injury, but it's the throwing shoulder that is of concern right now. He, of course, signed the $160 million contract this offseason. Also not playing tonight will be Ben Roethlisberger. In his first season since elbow surgery, he threw the second most touchdown passes of any year of his career, coming back in his 19th season at the age of 39. We'll see what he is able to do. But that does not mean there are not things of interest to be watching for tonight. And Adam Schefter, let's talk about it from a Steelers quarterback perspective. There's something that I know bears a lot of paying attention to. What are you looking to see tonight?
No Ben Roethlisberger tonight, Greeny, so they'll get a look at what could be their future. We'll see. Mason Rudolph starts, and then after Mason Rudolph plays, Dwayne Haskins will come on and replace Mason Rudolph and play the remainder of the first half. And Dwayne Haskins is coming to Pittsburgh with a new attitude, has looked good this summer. This will be his first chance to step into game action as a Steelers quarterback to show what he can do before he gives way to Josh Dobbs in the second half. But Dwayne Haskins has been an interesting prospect. It didn't work out for him in Washington. He's got a new opportunity in Pittsburgh. It starts tonight in the first preseason game in almost 2 years.
Absolutely. And Lewis, let's talk about this. You and I were both very high on him coming out of the draft, coming out from Ohio State. He's still only 24 years old. Obviously, things went about as sideways as they possibly could for a variety of different reasons in Washington. But as we sit here and talk about what are the Steelers going to do for the future at quarterback, maybe the answer could be there.
Yeah, and and the reason why it could be there is first and foremost, look, Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert believe in Dwayne, believe in his upside, believe in the fact that this is a young man who obviously has gotten it sideways a little bit off the field as far as some of his decision making and his lack of maturity in Washington. And he didn't take advantage of what was a tremendous opportunity for him just simply because he was the 15th overall pick in the draft. And they are trying to now reboot this young man, get him back on the right track, get him behind Ben Roethlisberger, let him watch and learn how a guy has done it at a high level for such a long period of time. And they have done it all without putting their club at risk in terms of compensation. They're paying him, he's on a one-year deal for $850,000. If they hit on Dwayne Haskins, and Mike Tomlin is able to get him to play up to his potential, and Kevin Colbert's able to get him to play up to his potential, this is huge for them. Huge. It would be one of the biggest signings that they have had in the recent past, in years. Tonight, that journey starts. We'll see if Dwayne Haskins makes them look smart.
It's a great opportunity for them. It's an extraordinary opportunity, and who knows, maybe his final one for him, despite his young age. But Sacho, I'm trying to read your face. You look skeptical. Why?
Well, I'm more concerned about, I'm not high on Dwayne Haskins, so let's just kind of put that out there. I don't like what he did in Washington, and I don't see him being the future for Pittsburgh. But what I'm looking for this game specifically is Dan Quinn and what Dan Quinn's defense does against Dwayne Haskins and Mason Rudolph. We all know that Dan Quinn traditionally has been a 4-3 base defensive scheme, cover 3. Well, he had somewhat of a reckoning moment last year, getting fired halfway in the season, really 5 games in, and he said he reevaluated his defensive scheme, looked at everything he's been doing for the last 7 years, and started changing things. So he's considering running some 3-4. He's considering running some 4-3. So if right now you're having a midlife crisis, if you will, I'll take it because you're going to be better than you were before.
Well, that is the thing. And as we have sat here, I'll get to Dak in just a second with Shefty. But, Lewis, we have talked so much about the Cowboys because they have that star in their helmet, so everyone wants to hear about it. The bottom line of it is, what will we see tonight from that? What will you be looking for in that defense tonight? That's what has to get better. What can we see tonight that will give you, Lewis, some indication of whether it is starting to work or not?
Well, what you want to see is 11 guys on the same page, because early last year, that's the one thing you didn't see at all, particularly on the second and third level of the defense, where we know communication is it's critical, because that's how you basically lose games in the NFL, because someone isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, someone blows a coverage, someone doesn't take proper leverage, someone doesn't provide help where he needs to, and next thing you know, the ball's getting thrown over your head. That happened to Dallas over and over and over again. So I just want to see guys out there, particularly the linebackers and the safeties, communicating with each other, communicating with the front, that they are not beating themselves. Now, if they aren't good enough from an athletic standpoint, that's another issue all in and of itself. But I just want to see them being on the same page. Dan needs to make sure that the communication between the signal callers is on point.
Yeah, so that's really the more important side of the ball for the Cowboys. And again, Shefty, we won't see Dak Prescott tonight. We probably wouldn't have seen him tonight, regardless of the shoulder situation. But I'm getting such mixed, conflicting thoughts on this show. Some people are very concerned about it. Some people are not concerned about it at all. What are you hearing about the level of concern, Shefty, for Dak's shoulder?
Look, I don't think it's high, Greeny, but the fact of the matter is they want to make sure that Dak Prescott isn't ready on August 5th, but that he's ready on September 5th. That's the goal. What is the upside to putting him out there if there is some discomfort in his arm? And in the people that I've spoken to, no, they're not concerned long term, but they are going to be mindful of managing this, and they are aware of the fact that this could linger for a little bit of time, and they want to be smart right now to make sure they don't exacerbate it. So you rest him. What is the upside to putting Dak Prescott out there right now? The Cowboys left home 18 players that ordinarily might be playing tonight, didn't even make the trip to Canton. This is not about that. This is about the bottom of the roster guys trying to make a name for themselves, fighting for roster spots, and preseason being back.
Okay, we will talk more about that a little bit later and get some thoughts on Dak. But let's talk about another quarterback at the center of even more conversation, and that, of course, is Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, who yesterday met with the media and addressed his relationship with the general manager, Brian Gutekunst, calling it a work in progress. Here's more from Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I think it's a work in progress for sure. I mean, I think, relationships aren't formed in a matter of a couple days. There's time where the respect grows and the communication follows. I think the greatest relationships that you have, with your friends and loved ones involve conversations that flow. That's all about wanting to have those conversations. And, we've had a couple conversations and been positive conversations.
Okay, the mere fact that they're conversating at all, I find just completely fascinating. So, Shefty, let me come to you. You're the one who's been on top of this thing now for the many months that we've been talking about it. What should we take away from this relationship in progress in Green Bay?
Like you, Greeny, the fact that they're even talking to me is a semi-encouraging development. It's better than not talking at all. Look, you covered the Bulls back in the day. Was Michael talking to Jerry Krause back then? I'll bet they weren't even speaking. So there has been some dialogue between these two particular individuals, and it's pretty well documented what Aaron Rodgers has felt about his general manager in the past and some of the things that have gone on there where they have not kept him in the loop, where they have not brought him into personnel decisions when they told him that they would and they hadn't. And so the fact that they're even communicating, look, why would they not lean on the input and advice of somebody who's been around, who knows the pulse of the locker room, who knows the players, who's comfortable playing with certain people? It's not the way the Packers organization has operated. And again, one player shouldn't be bigger than the team, but an organization should be smart enough to recognize, hey, this is a guy whose contributions should be and could be very valuable. Why would we not factor them in to our process, something they haven't done in the past?
Louis, I see the face. I follow you on Twitter. You constantly tweet. It's a relationship business. So how do you read this relationship?
Man, this isn't a relationship. You know what they're doing? They're faking it until hopefully they can make it to the Super Bowl. That's what they're trying to do. I mean, and that's okay. We all get that. It's all right. But Adam asked a great question that, quite honestly, at this point in time, if you're still asking that question, is there really hope? And that is, why wouldn't they rely on and lean on the input of someone who talks to every single guy in this locker room, has been there for, 15 years, has won multiple MVPs, has won a Super Bowl for you, is regarded as one of the most talented players to ever play the game, period, and who has relationships with various different players across all different positions on this team? Why wouldn't you rely on him? As he said, why wouldn't you rely on me to help recruit players that come here? Because guys want to come here and play with me. Maybe ask my opinion on certain individuals as you're about to send them down the road. Why wouldn't you just ask my opinion? Well, the reason is because they don't want to. That's why. So now all of a sudden, when maybe 2021 is the last year, now all of a sudden it's boom, we're going to ask you on everything, Aaron. We're going to make this work. This is a great relationship. Come on. Look, I think we're all smart enough to know that that's not the case. But he also knows this. They have a chance to win a Super Bowl. They do have a good football team. And that's what everybody's paid for in the NFL, to win games at the very highest level. So they're going to try and do that. But Look, I don't buy this whole, well, now we're on the road to, making this thing into what it should have been for the first 15 years. I don't buy that in the least.
Sacho, how about you?
Yeah, it seems like he's having an uncomfortable conversation with the GM. That's what I'm seeing between Aaron Rodgers and his GM. I don't think this lasts past this year. I believe that this is it's almost like Lewis said. It's conversation. Let's figure things out. Let's smooth things out for this year. But Adam said the same thing, right? We're not thinking long term. We're going to work together. We're going to live together. We're cohabitating. Why not make the most of our current relationship? My dad's a psychologist. He talks about it all the time. He says you have to get through hard things if you want